Martial drives me mad. If I was a manager, he just annoys me looking at him. He's a miserable face.
And if ever a signing sort of summed up the chaos at Manchester United in the recruitment department, is him, isn't it? He's nowhere near scored 100 Premier League goals yet.
Roasted. And look, that's pretty much the way most pundits, fans, and the wider football public view Anthony Martial. Personally, I'm a big fan of his facial expressions. I've always loved them. There's some great memes about it. This is a guy that for so long, everyone has expected more, has hoped that he would get close to his potential, and I've defended him, but I can't do that anymore. So as he enters the final 6 months of his contract at Man United, and he might leave in the January transfer window, it's time we go ahead and evaluate his career there. So taking a few steps back, Anthony Martial is from Massy, a suburb of Paris, and he played at a small club called Les Ulis up until the age of 14. Now his coaches there, they were actually friends and grew up with Patrice Evra and Thierry Henry, and so those two players would have an indirect and direct impact on Martial's career. One of the coaches said, "There's a friend of mine called TMM who visited Patrice in Manchester, and sometimes he would give us a kit to take back to Les Ulis, shirts, boots, etc. One morning we thought we would get Anthony to play in Patrice Evra's boots to see what it's like. How does a 12-year-old fit into Patrice Evra's 9.5 shoe? I don't get it." But these coaches saw a lot in him, and especially major comparisons to Thierry Henry. One of the coaches said, "I played with Thierry Henry for a year. Then, as if by chance, a few years later, I saw the exact same characteristics in Anthony. The comparison between the two players is totally legitimate." And we'll touch on that again in a minute. So at the age of 12, Martial's talent was obvious. He was on the radar of a bunch of the big clubs. Man City at the time brought him over. No deal was made, and so he stayed in France, going to Lyon at 14, and then getting a move to Monaco, where he would start his professional career. As a 17-year-old in his first season at Monaco, he scored 2 goals in 15. Then he had 12 in 48 games in his second season. And at the very start of the 2015-26 season, he had scored 1 in 7 before his deadline day move to Manchester United. Now that move was huge. He was actually the most expensive teenager in history at the time. £36 million, up to 50-some million in add-ons, one of those being winning the Ballon d'Or. Now, a lot of people were very surprised about the fee. To be honest, I had never heard of the guy, and all of a sudden he's the most expensive teenager in the world showing up at Man United. And his debut went quite well. He got subbed on for Juan Mata in the 65th minute and went on to score a sublime goal, one that reminded everybody of Thierry Henry. This goal against Liverpool, it's so similar, you just can't ignore it. And he would go on to score 4 goals in his first 4 games, pick up a Player of the Month award, and he actually ended that season with 17 goals in 49 appearances. That's his second best haul. The only time he would actually beat that was the 2019-2020 season when he scored 17 Premier League goals, 23 in all competitions in 48 games. Basically, Martial needs time to score. He is a 1 in 4 guy, but he also doesn't provide enough assists. On top of that, his record for France is worse. He's only got 2 goals for Les Bleus. The first one coming against Italy back in 2016, and the second coming against Ukraine back in 2021. To be a forward and contribute so little to such an insanely dominant side like France is not good, and he had plenty of chances. I mean, he had 30 appearances. For context, André-Pierre Gignac scored 7 goals in 36 games. Benjamin Pavard has 5 goals in 52 appearances. Samuel Umtiti has 4 goals in 31 appearances. Tchouameni has 3 in 29. But then it gets worse. Theo Hernandez, Mathieu Debuchy, Nabil Fekir, and N'Golo Kante all have as many goals as Anthony Martial. How is that possible for a forward? So now that the contract is running down, you kind of ask yourself, what is next for Anthony Martial? He's 28 years old, he's on high wages, he went on loan to Sevilla, that didn't work. I'm not sure if he's going to be wanted in Spain, so where to? France? Italy? The biggest problem with him is that his talent is so abundantly clear to see, but the way he behaves and plays is what turns a lot of people off.
So much expected of this guy.
Yeah.
And yet he seems to have hung around like a bad smell.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. I think he's everything. He epitomizes everything that's been wrong with Man United in the last 5 or 6 years.
You can find a lot of videos on YouTube just destroying him for standing around, walking around, doing nothing basically. Probably more than of highlights of what he does. It's kind of crazy. The thing that's most difficult is to see a player that you know could have been pretty damn good be pretty damn average. Now, the wild thing is that Man United, they spent that big money on Anthony Martial way back then. If they had waited a year and a half, Kylian Mbappe was the next coming up. So at the end of the season, it will be 9 years since Anthony Martial joined Manchester United. Not even 100 Premier League goals. We'll see where he goes next. This is Campfire Football. I'm Sebastian North. Thanks for stopping by.